Animals have a way of seeing the world that we can't fully understand. Their heightened senses and instincts often make them aware of things we might miss entirely. In today's stories, we'll explore the unsettling experiences of people whose pets seem to sense something unusual, something that left them questioning what was really out there. Get ready to hear some of the most chilling tales of animals acting strange, as if they were seeing something we couldn't. My name is Laura, and this story still gives me goosebumps whenever I think about it. It happened 2 years ago when I had just moved into a small, cozy house in the countryside. It wasn't too isolated. I had neighbors within walking distance, but the area was quiet, surrounded by tall trees and lots of open land. I thought it would be a peaceful place for me and my dog, Max. Max was a big German shepherd, loyal and smart, with a gentle demeanor. He was the kind of dog that rarely barked unless he felt something was really wrong. That's what made what happened so terrifying. One night, it was unusually quiet. No crickets, no rustling leaves, just an eerie stillness. I was in the living room watching TV, and Max was lying by my feet, dozing off. Suddenly, he lifted his head, ears perked up, and started growling lowly. At first, I thought he might have heard an animal outside. It wasn't uncommon to see deer or raccoons near the house. But then Max stood up, his body tense, and his eyes fixed on the front door. "What is it, boy?" I asked, trying to sound calm. He didn't respond, just kept growling, his fur bristling. I got up and peeked out the window, but there was nothing there, just the empty yard illuminated by the faint glow of the porch light. I tried to reassure Max, patting him on the head. "It's probably nothing," I said. But he didn't relax. Instead, he started barking, loud, sharp barks that echoed through the house. That's when I heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from the door. My heart skipped a beat. It wasn't the wind, and it didn't sound like an animal. It was deliberate, like someone dragging their nails slowly across the wood. I froze, staring at the door. Max was going wild now, barking and growling as if he were ready to attack. Gathering my courage, I grabbed a flashlight and slowly approached the door. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. The scratching stopped abruptly, leaving an unsettling silence. I shined the flashlight through the peephole, but all I could see was the empty porch. No movement, no shadows, nothing. I decided to open the door, just a crack, with Max by my side, growling lowly. There was no one there. But as I stepped onto the porch, Max suddenly lunged forward, barking furiously at the edge of the yard. I shined the flashlight in that direction, but again, there was nothing there. Then I noticed something chilling. In the dirt near the porch steps were footprints, bare, human footprints. They were large, deep, and led away from the house toward the woods. I didn't sleep that night. Max stayed by the door, alert and growling at every little noise. The next morning, I called a neighbor, and we checked the area together, but the footprints ended abruptly at the edge of the woods, as if whoever, or whatever, had been there vanished into thin air. To this day, I have no idea who or what was outside that night. But I trust Max completely, and whatever it was, I'm grateful he was there to warn me. Something about it felt wrong, as if it wasn't just a person or an animal, but something much darker. Second story. My name is Ethan, and this is the story of the night I realized just how perceptive animals can be. I live in a small apartment on the edge of the city, and for the past 3 years, I've shared my space with Luna, my tabby cat. She's always been a calm and affectionate companion, with the usual quirks of a cat, chasing light reflections, batting at invisible strings, and curling up in the oddest places. But what happened one night made me question if Luna could see things I couldn't. It was a rainy evening, and the sound of water pattering against the windows was oddly soothing. I was sitting on the couch, reading a book, while Luna napped on the armrest. The warm glow of a lamp was the only light in the room. Everything felt normal until Luna suddenly jerked awake. She sat upright, her ears twitching and her eyes wide, staring intently at the far corner of the living room. I followed her gaze, but there was nothing there, just the bookshelf and an empty wall. "Luna, what's wrong?" I asked, more curious than alarmed. She didn't move, her gaze locked on the corner. Then, slowly, she got up, her body tense, and began to stalk toward it. Her tail was puffed up, and she made a low, guttural growl I had never heard from her before. I set the book down and stood up, my pulse quickening. The room felt colder, though I couldn't tell if it was real or just my nerves. Luna reached the corner and stopped abruptly, staring up at a spot about 5 feet off the ground. I couldn't see anything, but her reaction was unnerving. She hissed loudly, then swatted the air, as if something invisible was there. My heart started racing. "Luna, stop it," I said, my voice shaky. She didn't listen, hissing again before bolting under the couch. I stood there, staring at the empty corner, every hair on my body standing on end. The silence was deafening, except for the rain outside. Then, I heard it, a faint tapping sound coming from the window. Slowly, I turned and looked. The window overlooked a narrow alley, and with the rain streaming down the glass, it was hard to see anything clearly. But there it was, a shadow, faint and fleeting, moving past the window. I froze, trying to convince myself it was just someone walking by. But then the tapping started again, deliberate and slow, like fingernails on the glass. I rushed to the window and yanked the curtain shut, my heart pounding in my chest. Luna crawled out from under the couch and darted into the bedroom, leaving me alone in the living room with the oppressive silence. The tapping stopped, but the feeling of being watched lingered. I checked the locks on every door and window twice before finally retreating to bed, Luna curled up tightly against me. The next morning, I inspected the window. There were no signs of anyone being there, no footprints in the muddy alley, no smudges on the glass. But the memory of Luna's reaction, her uncharacteristic aggression and fear, stayed with me. Whatever she saw or sensed that night, I have no explanation for it. And while I've tried to convince myself it was nothing, I can't shake the feeling that it wasn't just in her head, or mine. Third story. My name is Ellie, and I'll never forget the night my dog, Max, acted like he could see something I couldn't. Max is a 3-year-old German Shepherd, fiercely loyal and incredibly intelligent. He's the kind of dog who loves everyone but knows when something isn't right. We live in a quiet suburban neighborhood, and Max has always made me feel safe. But one night, I realized even his presence couldn't stop the chills that ran down my spine. It was a typical Friday evening. I had just finished dinner and decided to watch a movie in the living room. Max was lying at my feet, chewing on one of his favorite toys. Outside, it was unusually windy, and the sound of the trees rustling filled the air. About halfway through the movie, Max suddenly froze. His ears perked up, and he stopped chewing his toy. He stared at the front door, his body completely still. "Max?" I called softly, but he didn't respond. He let out a low, deep growl, a sound I'd only heard once before when a stranger had tried to open our backyard gate. His hackles rose, and he stood up, still fixated on the door. I paused the movie and got up to look outside. The porch light illuminated the empty front yard, and there was nothing unusual that I could see. But Max wasn't convinced. He moved closer to the door, sniffing the air and growling again. "Is someone there?" I whispered to myself, feeling a knot form in my stomach. Max suddenly turned and bolted toward the back door. He barked loudly, the kind of bark that made it clear he was trying to warn something, or someone, to stay away. I ran after him, my heart racing. When I got to the back door, Max was standing there, barking furiously at the sliding glass door that led to the backyard. I turned on the porch light and looked outside. At first, I didn't see anything, just the trees swaying in the wind. But then I noticed it, a shadow, moving quickly along the fence line. "Who's there?" I shouted, though I wasn't sure I wanted an answer. Max continued barking, his body tense and his eyes locked on the shadow. It moved unnaturally fast, disappearing behind the shed in the corner of the yard. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, explaining the situation to the operator while trying to calm Max down. The police arrived within minutes and searched the yard, but they didn't find anything. No signs of forced entry, no footprints in the dirt, nothing. They assured me it was probably just a wild animal, but Max's reaction told me otherwise. That night, Max refused to leave my side. He sat by the front door, his ears alert, until the sun came up. I didn't sleep a single minute. To this day, I don't know what Max saw or sensed that night. Maybe it was just an animal, or maybe it was something else entirely. Whatever it was, it left me with a lingering unease, and a deeper appreciation for how much Max protects me, even from the things I can't see. Last story. My name is Ryan, and my cat, Jasper, made me question everything I thought I knew about my quiet apartment. Jasper is a Siamese cat with a personality as bold as his striking blue eyes. He's playful, curious, and not easily spooked. That's why the events of one particular night still unsettle me whenever I think about them. It was a calm evening, and I had just finished a long day at work. Rain softly tapped against the windows, and I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone while Jasper dozed on the windowsill. The dim light from my reading lamp gave the room a warm, cozy glow. Everything felt peaceful, ordinary. Around 10 p.m., Jasper suddenly perked up. His ears twitched, and he stared intently at the doorway to the hallway that led to my bedroom. I looked up from my phone, confused by his behavior. "What's up, buddy?" I asked, half expecting him to jump down and chase a bug or some other trivial distraction. But he didn't move. Instead, his fur bristled, and a low, guttural growl escaped his throat, a sound I had never heard from him before. He was fixated on the dark hallway, his body tense. I turned my head toward the hallway, expecting to see, well, something. But it was empty. The shadows danced slightly from the flickering light in the living room, but nothing seemed out of place. "Jasper, come on, it's nothing," I said, trying to reassure myself as much as him. But Jasper didn't relax. He jumped down from the windowsill and slowly crept toward the hallway, his tail puffed up and his growl turning into a hiss. He stopped abruptly, staring at a specific spot just past the threshold of the hallway. I felt a chill run down my spine. The room felt heavier, like the air had thickened. My heart began to race as I stood up and walked over to where Jasper was. There was nothing there. No movement, no sound, just an unsettling stillness. "Hello?" I called out softly, feeling ridiculous for speaking into the empty space. Jasper hissed again and backed away, darting under the couch. At that moment, I felt something, a subtle shift in the atmosphere, like a cold draft brushing past me, even though all the windows were closed. I decided I'd had enough. I grabbed a flashlight and checked every corner of my apartment, from the closets to under the bed. Nothing was out of place. But Jasper refused to come out from under the couch for the rest of the night. The next morning, everything seemed back to normal. Jasper was his usual playful self, chasing his toys and lounging in the sunlit spots of the apartment. but I couldn't shake the memory of his reaction or the way the air felt that night. I still don't know what Jasper saw or sensed in that hallway, but I trust his instincts more than my own now. Sometimes, I catch him staring into that same spot, his eyes wide and his tail twitching. Whatever it was, I just hope it stays away. Animals may not speak our language, but their behavior often speaks volumes. Whether it's a dog refusing to leave your side, a cat hissing at empty spaces, or a bird suddenly going quiet, these moments remind us of how much they perceive. Were they protecting their owners from unseen dangers, or was it something else entirely? Whatever the case, their instincts leave us with more questions than answers. Thanks for watching, and if you've ever experienced something similar, feel free to share your story in the comments. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.